Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to my Bahrain Grand Prix preview. Yes, it has already been 2 weeks since the Australian Grand Prix, and now we've got two races back to back. Formula One is well and truly underway for 2018. Now, whilst we look forward to this weekend's track action in Bahrain, the initial focus will be off track as Formula One's bosses present the 2021 blueprint for the sport to the teams. That is expected on Friday. Back in October, Liberty Media presented a draft proposal and the changes put forward included sticking with the current V6 hybrid power units with a more powerful MGU-K, some standardised parts and restrictions on some development, and also getting rid of that often troublesome MGU-H. This initial draft did result in heavy criticism from some teams, most notably Ferrari, who have made no secret of their intention to quit the sport should they be unhappy with the new rules. And speaking back in December, Sergio Marchionne said, "We are not bluffing, and I would not try to test the theory. If they continue on the path of wanting to turn F1 into NASCAR, with cars all the same, there could be a divorce. If they decide to make us all the same, we will go in 3 seconds, but that's not what we want." And his new best mate Toto Wolff recently warned Liberty Media not to mess with Ferrari or Marchionne, saying, "My message is, don't mess with Sergio Marchionne. F1 needs Ferrari much more than Ferrari needs F1. He's a businessman. The bottom line matters, and if he believes that F1 doesn't give Ferrari any benefit anymore, he will walk. He needs to be taken seriously, and if I were others, I wouldn't try to pose against him. That could be a bad outcome for F1 and all involved." Look, I'm not going to jump back into this will they, won't they quit debate, but F1 needs Ferrari just as much as Ferrari needs F1. They are going nowhere. However, one thing is for sure, we are set for a weekend of posturing and debate, and I give it around about an hour before we hear Christian Horner praising the new blueprint, Ferrari criticising it, and Toto Wolff playing a diplomatic middle ground. But let's hope the track action is just as tasty and interesting as the off-track politics. Back to the track then, and there have been changes to the DRS zone down the pit straight for this weekend, all in a bid to offer more opportunities for overtakes. Obviously, back in Australia, they added a third DRS zone, which really made no difference whatsoever. However, in Bahrain, the DRS zone down the pit straight has been extended to the point where it almost runs the full length of it. Now, the detection point is 108 metres from turn 14, and the activation point is now just 170 metres after the final corner at turn 15. And that is a full 100 metres earlier than last year. And as we saw from last year's Grand Prix, you could actually overtake down that start-finish straight, and that was with the DRS as it was. So my concern here is that we end up with a little bit of an overpowered DRS zone, but we'll see how it goes for the weekend. Anything's got to be better than 5 on-track overtakes. And by the way, the other DRS zone, which runs from turn 10 down to turn 11, is unchanged for 2018. The FIA are also apparently looking into changes to DRS zones in both Baku and in Canada to try and improve the spectacle at those Grand Prix. As I said with the third DRS zone in Australia, it's not ideal, but they have to explore short-term fixes to this overtaking problem because there is nothing they can do until 2021 realistically. The drivers' press conference took place today, and it was Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso and Valtteri Bottas in attendance. Now, of course, Kimi Raikkonen has a total of 8 podiums in Bahrain and has always gone well in the desert. However, it was pointed out to him that his qualifying performances around Sakhir weren't always quite as impressive. And the Finn was asked why this could be, to which he said, "I don't look too closely what has happened in the past. You probably know better. We always try to do our best, and sometimes it works and sometimes not. You try to do the best out of it. Some years it's been working out well here. Could that be better if you start at the front? Who knows? But we have another weekend. We try to do a good job and be up there." Kimi also had his say on the proposed changes for 2021, and truth be told, he just isn't interested. The 2007 world champion said, "I don't know what they're doing. I know very little about it, and I'm not interested either. We'll see tomorrow what they say. It's in many years' time anyhow, and I doubt that I'll be here, so it doesn't really bother me at all." Kimi was in typically prickly form during the press conference and was asked what he would do if he had the power to change F1, and he replied, "I don't understand. What's the point for me to give you a list? Because in the end, I have zero power. We don't make the rules. That's my point. So what's the point even making a story out of it?" As I said, Kimi was joined in the press conference by Fernando Alonso, who was quizzed on what he expected this weekend following a good result from the team in Australia, and also what he expected for the rest of the season. He seemed pretty optimistic, but also remained quite cautious, saying, "The car has some potential. We take the 5th place and move on. There is still a lot to improve for us to catch the top 3 teams, but I think we have the potential and can hopefully unlock some performance in the coming races. I think there is still a reasonable gap to close to the leaders, but I think it's up to us now. It's up to the team to deliver the performance in the next weeks, in the next 4, 5, 6 Grand Prix. If we are able to bring the performance to the track and close the gap, then it's up to us to deliver the result. So I think the next 2 months are crucial for our hopes in this year's championship. If it's not a world championship fight, we will hopefully have some podium positions during the year." Valtteri Bottas was the third driver in attendance and was asked about his weekend in Melbourne and whether or not that was playing on his mind in Bahrain, to which he said, "It's not so much been in my mind because everything was processed during the week. It was a bad weekend, that's it. Now we still have 20 races to go, so there's nothing really to worry about at this point. It was just a bad weekend, so I'm looking forward to this one." Following what I think it's fair to say was a blistering pole lap in Australia from Lewis Hamilton, it looks as though Mercedes have got quite a large pace advantage over one lap versus Ferrari. However, on race pace, the front three do look very close, and Bottas was also asked just how close the teams will be during Sunday's race, to which the Finn said, "At this point, we can only guess. I think historically Ferrari have been good here. They had good pace in Australia, and last year they had stronger pace here. So I think it's going to be a threat, and they are going to be close to us. Even Red Bull. More than that, we just can't say." So it was a full 17 minutes of press conference today, and aside from Kimi's typical form, it was pretty much the same diplomatic and cagey answers we've come to expect over the years. A few bits from some of the other teams then, and despite an impressive and promising pre-season, it took just 13 laps at Albert Park for Honda to suffer reliability issues. The MGU-H and turbocharger on Pierre Gasly's Toro Rosso ran into issues, which saw the Frenchman retire, and as a result of those problems, Pierre Gasly's internal combustion engine was also damaged, and he will therefore need a new unit for this weekend. Honda have also taken the decision to replace the components on Brendan Hartley's car as a precaution. Neither Gasly nor Hartley will suffer a penalty in Bahrain, but it is now inevitable, if it wasn't already, that they will have to take a penalty at some point in 2018, as we still have 20 races to go. Following a very disappointing end to what looks set to be an incredible weekend in Australia for Haas, the team have confirmed that they have reshuffled their pit crew, changed procedures around the pit stops, and are set to increase the amount of practice they do this weekend. The team were set for their best ever finish at Albert Park before cross-threaded wheel nuts on Magnussen's left rear and Grosjean's left front saw both cars grind to a halt and retire. But team principal Gunter Steiner, who we've heard a hell of a lot from this week, said, "We swapped a few positions, and the main reason is not because they did a mistake, but to get their confidence back. If you keep on doing the same and the guy is not confident, the risk you have a mistake is high. You swap positions, you give them different jobs because you need so many people anyway. We started practicing yesterday, and we'll try to do as much as possible until the race. We need to make sure we get the wheels on, even if it takes half a second longer. What we need to do is solid stops. We don't need 2.4 second stops, we need solid 3 second stops." The team were fined by the FIA for the unsafe release of both cars, but thankfully no other penalty was handed out. I think it goes without saying really that Haas need to nail whatever the problems were during the pit stops, so that they can make the most of their early season advantage over the rest of the midfield. Force India have taken a new front wing to Bahrain, but there is only one, and that will be used by Sergio Perez. The team will be hoping to bounce back from what was a disappointing weekend in Australia, where both drivers actually failed to score the first time Force India haven't scored in Australia since 2009. Esteban Ocon was asked for the media what he thought of the team's problems, and he said, "I think, to be honest, it's not just downforce, it's a lot of things. But mainly, it is the downforce which brings performance in Formula One. But compared to last year, this car is still faster than last year. It's an improvement from the other car." Back in testing, Force India pretty much ran an updated 2017 car, and that sort of saw them on the back foot for Australia. However, there were a raft of upgrades bolted on that car at Albert Park, and it looks as though the development is already starting to come thick and fast. I have no doubt whatsoever that Force India will improve as the season progresses. And finally, don't forget that it's not all about F1 this weekend, as Formula 2 gets underway in the desert, and the series is set for one hell of a season with one of its most competitive and exciting lineups in years. And when you consider some of the talent that's come through F2 and GP2, that says a lot. So as well as established talent such as Markelov, Giotto, Albon, this weekend we'll also see some seriously impressive newcomers to the sport, including Max Gunter, who was massively impressive in Euro F3 last year, George Russell, who many tip as a future Mercedes driver in Formula One, the highly rated Narefu Kazumi, and also starting his first full season in F2, will be possible future McLaren driver and reigning Euro F3 champion Lando Norris. It all kicks off this weekend, with practice and qualifying on Friday, race 1 of course on Saturday, and race 2 on Sunday. I love F1, but I cannot wait for F2 this year either. That is it from me. I will be back on Saturday with the qualifying report, and don't forget to join us this Sunday at 7 p.m-ish UK time for our live race debrief. In the meantime, though, you can follow me on social media. Links to Facebook, Twitter and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.